Hey guys, this is Andrew with rockclass101.com, and in this week's ukulele lesson, Matt's going to be teaching you how to play Jack's Lament. Now this is a song from the musical, The Nightmare Before Christmas, and off the bat, I've got to give props to Matt for writing a brilliant arrangement. It's not an easy thing to take a vocally demanding tune and then transpose it onto the ukulele as an instrumental, so big round of applause to Matt for writing a great arrangement for us to learn. Now, I did get a chance to play through the entire arrangement, and I've got to say that it is going to be best suited for the intermediate player. So if that's where you're at in your fingerstyle journey, this should be a good challenge for you. Now, let's take a step back. Let's talk a little bit about this lesson. So in this video, Matt's going to be teaching you how to play the entire arrangement. But if you want to get the tabs to print off and follow along with, that's going to be available at this link right here, or you can go to the site rockclass101.com, do a search for Jack's Lament. Also on that page will be the really cool interactive on-screen tab viewer. Now this is a great feature where you can hit play, you can watch the tab scroll across in real time, you can highlight bars to loop sections, slow it down to any speed you wish. Just a great asset in learning this tune that much easier. Alright, so I'm going to go ahead and hand it off to Matt to teach you how to play this, and then I'll catch you at the end of the video.
Hello! In today's tutorial, we're going to work on a solo high G arrangement of Jack's Lament from The Nightmare Before Christmas. It's one of my favorite melodies to play with my son, Jack, so I hope you enjoy working with it for this spooky season. Let's go and dive into melody A, bringing the camera down. We're going to start here with a little pickup bar. Pickup bar is very simple. We're going to play open on the A, and then 2 on the A. I'm just using my middle finger here. A quick note, you'll notice I'm basically thumb picking the whole way through this arrangement. Very rarely am I ever going to depart from that, so the thumb's going to be sweeping through and picking those notes. So the opening line here, the little intro pickup bar, sounds something like this in time. 2 and 3 and... Going right into the first measure, we're going to start with this A minor chord. To play it, take your index finger, place on the 2nd fret of the G string, ring finger here on the 3rd fret of the A string, strum through all 4 strings with your thumb. Then we're going to play 2 with the middle finger on the A string, and open on the A, taking that finger off. Now, to play this next chord, the C augmented, slide the index finger down to 1 on the G, add the ring finger here on 3 of the A string, and we're going to do an up strum. A few different ways you can do it. You can just use your index finger to come up. You'll notice I like to use the nail of my thumb for this kind of clicky, spooky type of sound. And then I'm going to play the 1 on the G, and then open on the A. So taking that ring finger off, then 2 on the A, and we can just use the ring finger again there. So that first measure, a little bit of a doozy with some movement, should sound something like this. 2 and 3 and 4 and... It's okay to use a little bit of rubato with this as you're playing. All that rubato means is that you're playing with feeling. You're holding some notes a little bit longer. I really like to do it. You'll notice it in the performance. Let's go on the second measure now. We're going to play a C chord. To play this, ring finger here on the 3rd fret of the A string, strum through all 4 strings. Play the A string again. 2 on the A with the middle finger here. Open on the A. Then this beautiful D diminished chord. To play this, it's basically like a G chord moved down and up. So what that means is the index finger is here on the 1st fret of the G string, ring finger on the 2nd fret of the C string, and our middle finger here on the 1st fret of the E string. We're going to do another up strum. You can use the nail of your thumb or your index finger up, whatever you like. Then we're going to play open on the A, and then 2 on the A, and I like to use my pinky here so I can allow that chord to keep ringing. So measure 2 in time should sound something like this. 2 and 3 and 4 and... So that you can hear it, here's measures 1 and 2, and I'll throw the pickup bar in there as well so that you can hear what it sounds like to start the tune. Should be something like this. 2 and 3 and... Going right on to measure 3 here, we're going to play an F chord. You can do this a couple different ways. One is you can just use your index finger here on the 1st fret of the E string, ring finger here on the 3rd fret of the A string. You also could use your pinky here on the A string because of where you came from the previous chord. It's kind of a nice little trick where this chord isn't usually played that way, but it can help with the transition because you're coming from... So whatever's comfortable for you is great there. Then we're going to play the 3 on the A again. 2 on the A, middle finger there. open on the A. Then an E7 upstrum. To play that, index finger on the first fret of the G string, middle finger on the second fret of the C string, and ring finger here on the second fret of the A string. Going to do an upstrum here. Then we're going to play open on the A, and then 2 on the A. So measure 3 in time should sound something like this. 2 and 3 and 4 and. Going right into measure 4, we're going to play a D minor chord, a little bit altered. Middle finger on the second fret of the C string, index finger here on the first fret of the E string. Strum only our C, E, and A with our thumb. And then there's a little optional part. The option is to do this. These are called artificial harmonics. Now there's a video linked below that breaks down this technique that I highly suggest you watch if you've never tried it before. If you've never done artificial harmonics before, it's totally fine to just play the 2 and the 1 on the C and the E. That works great for this arrangement, but you'll see me use this technique for that nice little shimmery effect. Then I'm going to play 4 on the E string. I'm going to just take my pinky finger, add it there, and then I'm going to play open on the A. So that measure is tricky because of those artificial harmonics. Again, check out the video if you haven't already. It's basically just using harmonics with fretting notes and moving it over. It's kind of tricky. The video breaks it down really well. So measure 4 should sound something like this in time. 2 and 3 and 4 and. And measures 3 and 4 should sound something like this paired up. 2 and 3 and 4 and. Going into measure 5 now, we're going to go to this B7. Take these 2 fingers that are already there for the D minor, slide them up 1 fret. So you've got your middle finger here on the 3rd fret of the C string, index on the 2nd fret of the E string. Then kick your ring finger up to the 4th fret of the G string, do another upstrum. Play the 4 on the G twice. Then play an A minor by just opening the strings and strumming through the C, E, and A. Then play the open A string again. 4 on the E with our pinky finger, then open on the A. So measure 5 in time, something like this. 2 and 3 and 4 and. Going into measure 6, it's going to be very familiar because it's almost the same as measure 5. We do the upstrum on the B7, play the 4 on the G, and instead of playing it a second time, we just do it that once, followed by the A minor, just opening the strings, and then the 4 on the E and the open on the A. So it's almost the same, it's just a couple notes less. So measure 6 in time sounds something like this. 2 and 3 and 4 and. And measures 5 and 6 as a pair should sound something like this. 2 and 3 and 4 and. Going right into measure 7, we're going to play a B7 chord, doing the upstrum again. Open on the A. 4 on the E, using our pinky, leaving the other fingers on to get that nice resonance. And play 2 on the E, which is already there, so you just take the pinky off, play that twice. Play the 4 again by putting the pinky back on. Open on the A. And that's all of measure 7. In time, it should be something like this. 2 and 3 and 4 and. Going into measure 8, we're going to move to an E7 chord. Quick note though, see this middle finger? It's just going to slide down 1 fret. The other fingers come off. Index finger to the 1st fret of the G string. Ring finger to the 2nd fret of the A string. And guess what? Another upstrum. Lots of that. That's why it's a nice high G arrangement. Upstrum there on the E7. Then we're going to do a harmonic here on the 12th fret of the E string. Again, if you don't know how to do this harmonic, totally fine to just play the open E. It still sounds wonderful. And then to finish this line, we're going to play 1 on the E string with our index finger, and then 3 on the E string with our ring finger. So measure 8 sounds like this in time. 2 and 3 and 4 and. And measures 7 and 8 should sound something like this. 2 and 3 and 4 and. Going on to measure 9, we're going to play a D minor chord the same way that we altered it before. So just the middle finger on the 2nd fret of the C string, index on the 1st fret of the E string, strum through our C, E, and A, open on the A 3 more times, And then we're going to do this modified A7 to play this. Index finger on the first fret of the C string. Ring finger kicks over to the third fret of the E string. Strum through our G, C, and E, stopping on the A. Then we're going to play the 3 on the E again. 1 on the E, taking that middle finger, and adding it there to the first fret on the E string underneath the index finger. And open on the G. So measure 9 in time should sound something like this. 2 and 3 and 4 and... Going into measure 10, more of the same stuff to start with that D minor chord we played a few times. Again, without that G string represented. C, E, and A together. Open on the A. Then we're going to play this E diminished 7. To play this, index finger on the first fret of the C string. Middle finger kicks out to underneath on the first fret of the A string. And we're going to do an up strum here. And then we're going to take that middle finger and we're going to move it up to the first fret on the E string and play that. Then play the open G. And that's measure 10, which in time sounds something like this. 2 and 3 and 4 and... And the pair of these, 9 and 10 together, should sound something like this. 2 and 3 and 4 and... Going into measure 11, we're going to go with that same D minor, strum through the C, E, and A. Then we're going to play the C string a bunch. We're going to play 2 on the C again, 2 more times after that. 1 on the C with the index finger, back to 2 on the C with the middle. In time 11 sounds like this. 2 and 3 and 4 and... Going into measure 12, we're just going to move our middle finger up to the third fret on the C string, play that by itself, and then we're going to do a harmonic on open G. And then we're going to do a harmonic on 1 of the A. So take this index finger, place it on the first fret on the A string, and do that harmonic here on the 13th fret. And then we're going to play 3 on the E. Ring finger can kind of come in underneath. Then open on the A. A little bit tricky of a measure. Sounds like this in time. 2 and 3 and 4 and... And the pair of measures now, 11 and 12, should sound something like this. 2 and 3 and 4 and... Going on to measure 13 now, we're going to play this G diminished chord. That ring finger that we added on the third fret of the E string a moment ago, we're going to keep that there, flip-flop the other fingers, so the index goes down to the first fret of the C string, middle finger to the first fret of the A string. It's going to be a bit of a stretch. If it's too much of a stretch for you, it's okay to use the pinky here on the E string, but I recommend trying to get this. We're going to strum through all 4 strings for that G diminished, and then 1 on the A twice. And then we're going to play that D minor we've been playing, 2, 1, 0, middle finger on second fret of the C string, index on first fret of the E string, strum through our C, E, and A again, then open on the A string twice. So measure 13 in time sounds something like this, starting with that G diminished, kept trying to say G minor, that's not right. That G diminished chord should sound something like this. 2 and 3 and 4 and... Going now into measure 14, we're going to go to a normal everyday A7, index finger here on the first fret of the C string. We're going to do an up strum, open on the G. Then our D minor again, but this time we're only going to play the C and E strings. To do that, our thumb starts on the C and plays through the C and E strings, stopping before it hits the A. Then we're going to play 2 on the C, and then open on the E, taking that index finger off. So measure 14 in time sounds something like this. 2 and 3 and 4 and... And the pair of measures, 13 and 14, should sound like this. 2 and 3 and 4 and... Going on to measure 15 here, we're going to be playing a lot on the C and E strings. Middle finger here on the second fret of the C, index here on the first fret of the E for that little D minor chord, but you're only going to play the C and E strings together. So again, starting on the C, stopping on the A. And then we're going to play open on the E, so take that index off. 2 on the C, 1 on the E, put it back on. Then move everything, 1 on the C string and open on the E. So it's like an A7, but we're only playing our C and E strings. Then 2 on the C, 1 1 on the C, open on the E. A lot of movement there. Sounds something like this in time. 2 and 3 and 4 and. Going into the 16th measure now, we play 2 on the C with our middle finger. And then we're going to play a harmonic on that 2nd fret. And then we're going to play the 1st fret on the E string. And we're going to do another artificial harmonic there on the 1st fret. Again, if you don't know how to do those, it's totally fine to just play the notes as they are. And then the very last thing with that measure is going to be 1 on the E string, just played by itself. So 16 in time sounds something like this. 2 and 3 and 4 and. And 15 and 16 should sound something like this. One of my favorite little stretches in the song. 2 and 3 and 4 and. Going into 17 now, we go to that modified A7 we played before. Index finger on the 1st fret of the C string, ring finger here on the 3rd fret of the E, strum our G, C, and E strings. Play the open G twice. Now we go to this B flat minor. This is a tricky chord. We're going to bar across with our index finger on the 1st fret of the C, E, and A, and it's not really important to get the A string. We're not going to be playing it, so it's okay if you're a little soft there as long as you're really good on the connection on the C and E strings. Get right up next to that fret wire. Then take your ring finger and add it on the 3rd fret of the G string. We're going to play our G, C, and E strings, and then we're going to play the E string twice after that. It's a little tricky, this chord. Sometimes it's easier for people to have a farther bar like that. Sometimes it's helpful to do it the way I was. Try to find what works best for you. Just make sure you're hugging the fret wire and you'll have it. You're going to play 1 on the E twice after that. Another little tip is you can take this middle finger and stack it on top of the index finger to help give a little bit more force. So 17 in time sounds something like this. 2 and 3 and 4 and. Going on to measure 13, we're going to play an E flat chord. And the way that we're going to play this E flat chord is we're going to take our middle finger, place it on the 3rd fret, of the C string, and our ring finger here on the 3rd fret of the E string. We're going to play our G, C, and E together. Then 3 on the E again. Then we go back to that B minor we just talked about. Strum through our G, C, and E. And we're going to play 1 on the E twice. So measure 18 sounds like this in time. 2 and 3 and 4 and. And the pair there of 17 and 18 should sound something like this. 2 and 3 and 4 and. Going into measure 19 now, we're going to play an A chord, everyday A. Middle finger here on the 2nd fret of the G, index finger here on the 1st fret of the C, strum through all 4 strings, play the open A. Then our modified A7, so leave the index where it is, take the middle finger off, add the ring finger on 3 of the E string, strum through our G, C, and E, and then play that E 3 more times. So that measure, 19, sounds like this. 2 and 3 and 4 and. And from here we go to that D diminished we played on the 2nd bar, I believe, of the song. That 1, 2, 1. It's like a G chord moved down and up, right? And down 1 fret and up 1 string. Index finger here on the 1st fret of the G. Ring finger here on the 2nd fret of the C. Middle finger here on the 1st fret of the E. Strum through G, C, E strings together. And then from this point, we're going to go on to now our A chord after we play the 1 on the E. So we go back to the 2, 1, 0, but this time we're not going to play the A string with it. So it goes. And then to end this measure on 20, we're going to play 7 on the A string. We're going to use our pinky finger here. I'll explain more about that 7 in a moment, but for right now, here's what measure 20 sounds like in time. 2 and 3 and 4 and. And the pair, 19 and 20, should sound something like this together. 2 and 3 and 4 and. I like to slow down with this, and this is leading up because this is and it's going and then in the next measure here it's going I'm Jack the pumpkin. pumpkin king. I think it's the most important part of the song, so I want to draw extra attention to it. So after you play that 7 on the A, we go now on to measure 21. Slide that pinky up to 8. Play this F diminished 7. To do this, you're going to take your index, place it on the 7th fret of the G string, ring finger on the 8th fret of the C string, middle finger on the 7th fret of the E string, and your pinky should already be on the A string now going up to the 8th fret. So it's this diminished 7 chord shape, 7, 8, 7, 8. You're going to play that for that's I'm, and then for Jack, we're going to move our index up to 9, middle finger up to 10 on the C and E strings, and then pinky kicks out to 12 on the A string, and that's the word Jack. And I like to really give it a little bit extra here, and you can even have it like slide down for some dramatic effect. Kind of cool. So we have I'm Jack. Then we're going to play 5 on the A for the. So in time, measure 21 sounds something like this. 2 and 3 and 4 and. And then this is my favorite part of the song, Pumpkin King on measure 22. We're going to play that pinky here on 5. We're not going to do anything about it. We're going to add the index finger here on 2 of the C, play those 2 strings together. Remember I said almost the whole thing is played with just the thumb? This is the exception. I'm going to play my thumb on the C string, my middle finger here on the A string, and I'm going to kind of pluck them so that they're offset a little bit. Notice how I'm not picking them into each other like this. I'm picking them a little bit offset to get good volume and control. You could also use your index and thumb. Just make sure you're not running them into each other. This isn't good. This is much better. And we're going to play that 2 and 5. Slide it down 1 fret, 4 and 1. And then we're going to take the index and bar across the 2nd fret of the C, E, and A and take our thumb and strum through those 3 strings. And that gives us Pumpkin King. And then we're going to play 5 on the A. Nice and supple with that note because the dramatic part is over. So measure 22 in time sounds something like this. 2 and 3 and 4 and. And the pair, my favorite pair of the whole song, sounds something like this for 21 and 22. 2 and 3 and 4 and. Going on to measure 23, we're going to play this B flat chord, and it's actually kind of familiar because it's kind of the same way we played our D minor, only not quite as high. Index finger on the 5th fret of the C string, middle finger on the 6th fret of the E string, and the pinky finger here on the 8th fret of the A string, strumming through our C, E, and A together. Play the 8 on the A again. And I like to be nice and quiet and soft with this, a little bit slow. Then we're going to go to this different A chord. A lot of flip-flopping here with the fingers. The middle finger is going to jump up to 9 of the C string. Ring finger goes underneath to 9 on the E. Index finger here to 7 on the A. It helps to kind of tilt your fingers towards your shoulder like I am here. See, not straight up and down, but tilting those fingernails towards the shoulder to get it all in there. We're going to play the C, E, and A together. And then we're going to play 7 on the A 3 more times. So measure 23 sounds like this in time. 2 and 3 and 4 and. Going on to measure 24 now. We're going to play that 7, 8, 7, 8 F diminished chord we did a moment ago. Then we're going to play 7 on the G. And then we're going to play that A chord we just talked about, the 9, 9, 7, the one that we just played literally a moment ago. So 24 in time sounds like this. 2 and 3 and 4 and. And the pair of those together, 23 and 24, should sound something like this. 2 and 3 and 4 and. I like to get quieter and slower as I go through this because this ends now our A melody section. So let's go ahead and hear all of the A melody part. I'm going to start with the pickup bar. I'm going to play all the way through right here on measure 24. It's a lot of stuff to play through. Remember, as you're watching, I'm going to be using those artificial harmonics. But if you don't play those, it's totally fine to just hit those notes. So it should sound something like this. 2 and 3 and. from this point, we go on to melody B. Now, there's kind of a pickup for melody B because it changes here. It actually goes into a 3/4 waltz time. And so we have this little pickup bar where we're going to start counting the waltz internally, and we're going to just play 1 on the A string on the 3rd beat. And so that's with our index finger, no problem. That sounds like this. 1, 2. And now we go on to measure 26, which starts this melody B. And we're going to play the 3 on the C string and 2 on the E string. And we're going to be using our 2 interior fingers, our ring and middle fingers here for this E flat diminished, strumming through our C, E, and A. Nice and spooky sounding. Then we're going to play 1 on the A. And that's all there is to measure 26. You'll notice the measures are much easier with the second melody section. It should sound something like this, counting it in with 3 now. And it should be something like, I'll play it with the pickup bar as well. So it should be 1, 2. Going on to measure 27, we're going to play this G minor chord to play this. Middle finger on the 3rd fret of the G string, index finger on the 2nd fret of the C string, and ring finger here on the 3rd fret of the E, strum through our G, C, and E. And we're going to play 3 on the G string. And then that's the whole measure. That's what's nice about this. A lot less activity per bar. So measure 27 in time should sound something like this. 1, 2, 3. And let's introduce one more measure. We'll do these in groups of 3 to make it a little easier. We're going to play an A chord. Just move that index finger down to the C string 1st fret. And we're only going to play our C, E, and A strings. And we're going to play open on the G. And 2 on the E with our middle finger here. And so in time, measure 28 should be something like this. 1, 2, 3. And so now let's hear this triplet of measures. Starting with the pickup bar, we're going to then play measures 26, 27, and 28. It should be something like this. 1, 2. Going into measure 29, we're going to play this altered E minor. You're going to play the 4th fret on the C string with our ring finger, 2nd fret on the A string with our index finger, do an up strum, then 3 on the E. So in time, 29, something like this. 1, 2, 3. Going into measure 30, this little A minor 6, take this middle finger, slide it down to the 2nd fret of the E string, move your index finger up to the 2nd fret of the G string, so we have 2, 0, 2, 0. Play just the G, C, and E strings, then open the G. So in time 30, 1, 2, 3. Going into 31, we go back to our E minor, and we're going to do an up strum, and then open on the G. So 31 in time, 1, 2, 3. And the triplet now of 29 through 31 should be something like this. 1, 2, 3. Going on to 32. 32 is exactly the same as 30 was. Same little A minor 6, 2, 0, 2, and then same open G. So in time, 32 sounds like this. 1, 2, 3. Then we go on to 33. We go back to our E minor we've been playing, to our same upstroke. Then we're going to play 1 on the A. Just move that index finger down 1 fret to play that. So in time, 33 sounds like this. 1, 2, 3. Now we go on to measure 34, which should look familiar because it's the same as 26. That same E flat diminished, 3, 2, 0, followed by the 1 on the A. In time, that should sound like this. 1, 2, 3. And here's what's cool. When we go on to the next part here with the G minor, the 3, 2, 3 that we played exactly the same as measure 27. And we're going to play the 3 on the G just like we did on measure 27. A lot of repetition here. So 35 in time sounds something like this. 1, 2, 3. And now measure 36 goes to the A minor chord. We're going to play open on the C, E, and A. And open on the G. 2 on the E. So in time, 36. 1, 2, 3. Going right into 37, it's back to this E minor up strum, which we've done how many times now? I think 4 times. This is the 5th time we've done it. Maybe it's the 4th. It's a lot of times with this waltz section. And we're going to play the 3 on the E this time. That's what we did on measure 29 as well. So 37 in time sounds like this. 1, 2, 3. And let's go in here, measures 35, 36, 37. Should sound something like this together. 1, 2, 3. Going into 38 now, we go back to that A minor 6 with the open G. The same thing that we did on measure 30. In time, it sounds like this. 1, 2, 3. I went right ahead into 39 because I couldn't help myself. Guess what? It goes back to that E minor that we've played so many times already. Up strumming it. And we play 3 on the E. In time, 39 sounds like this. 1, 2, 3. And now we go on to measure 40, which is sort of the end sequence. Take these 3 fingers, just move them up 1 string. So it's 4, 3, 2, 0. Just play the G, C, E strings for this B7. And open on the E. 3 on the C. And we hold that with the fermata before the very last chord. But so that we can hear it, here's 40 in time. 1, 2, 3. And those 3 measures, 38, 39, and 40, should be something like this. 1, 2, 3. And finally, the last measure, measure 41, we go this beautiful E minor chord by sliding the index finger up to the 7th fret on the C, E, and A, barring it there, playing all 4 strings. And in time, that one's pretty straightforward. 1, 2, 3. And there you have the entire melody B, which is the waltz section. I know we flew through that, but it's so much easier than the first melody, and you get a hang of it really quick because of all the repetition as you're looking at the tab and such. Let's go and hear what it sounds like, though. Here's all of melody B, starting on 26, actually starting on the pickup of 25, and then going through measure 41 in the end. Should sound something like this. 1, 2. Bringing the camera back up. And there you have it. There is a solo high G ukulele arrangement of Jack's Lament from The Nightmare Before Christmas. Truly one of my favorite videos just ever. I love this movie, and I hope that you enjoy working on this arrangement as much as I enjoyed creating it. As always, if you have any questions, feel free to leave them down in the comments below. I'll see you next time for the next lesson here on Rock Class 101. Thanks so much.
All right, guys, so this week's ukulele lesson was a ton of fun. This is a great song to play for Halloween and a great challenge, I would say, too, for the intermediate fingerstyle player. It's kind of cool how you got to play the first part of the tune in 4/4, and then it transitioned to that waltz feel, that 3/4 feel for the ending. So kind of cool to play in both time signatures. So I want to go ahead and give you guys a friendly reminder that if you did want to get the tabs to print off and keep for your records, that was available at this link right here. Or you can go to the site rockclass101.com, do a search for the song's name. Don't forget too, on that page was the really cool interactive on-screen tab viewer, so you can literally hit play, watch that tab, scroll across in real time, highlight bars to loop sections, slow it down, all that fun jazz. So guys, again, I hope you enjoyed learning this piece, and we will catch you in the next lesson. Take care.